Oh boy, here we go again. Is it time to release the Ayer Cut of Suicide Squad? Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix. My name is Chris Wong. I got a full house of topics for you today, starting off with Shazam Fury of the God. Then we're going to talk about Batgirl. Then we're going to talk about the Batman. And then we're going to talk about the Flash. And then finally, is David Ayer hinting that we're going to release the Ayer Cut soon? What's going on? Alright, let's talk about Shazam Fury of the Gods. Now, Shazam Fury of the Gods apparently has wrapped filming. It is finally ready to go. This is coming from Asher Angel's Instagram account. That's a wrap at Shazam movie, Shazam Fury of the Gods. So it finally wrapped shooting. After 660 plus days of shooting, they're finally done. Sadly, we're not going to get to see this movie until June of 2023. Yeah, almost 2 years from now. And I'm just going to put it out there hoping that, maybe this time around, can we actually throw in a cameo of Superman and actually have Henry Cavill in there? You've got almost 2 years, David F. Sandberg. Let's get to it. All right, let's talk a little bit about Batgirl. Adil El Arbi put out on Instagram today the script for Batgirl. Yeah, right there, Batgirl by Christina Hodson. Of course, we're not going to see any pages of this thing, but they are in Glasgow looking at locations, setting up the scenes. In fact, even Leslie Grace, who is playing Batgirl, was very excited. She posted 2 comic book panels from Batgirl. The first panel is Barbara Gordon doing some jujitsu and, proving that she's got what it takes. The next panel, you see her as Batgirl, where she takes on criminals in Gotham City. Leslie Grace just teasing that we're getting a Batgirl origin story, and she's researching, she's reading the comics, and she's probably going to do her best to make sure that you see her as Barbara Gordon for this Batgirl movie. Speaking of the Bat family, let's talk about the Batman. Now, this came out today. Apparently, a test screening for an upcoming comic book movie took place at the Warner Brothers lot yesterday. Also, it's about 3 hours long. And after going back and forth and all the teasing, this person really just hinted at that this movie is the Batman. Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to be 3 hours long. Now, this is just the first cut, and you'll probably trim it down, probably expecting to be a little over 2 hours. But if it is 3 hours, that's amazing. That's pretty awesome. It just goes to show that maybe Matt Reeves does have final say over this Batman movie. Now, having it longer really does not make a difference to me, but knowing that Warner Brothers kind of chops down things and makes sure it's a little over 2 hours, to get more theater screenings, it makes me a little bit worried that now that we know that the first cut was 3 hours, will it stay 3 hours or will it get cut shorter? Guess we'll have to wait and see when we watch the Batman next year. All right, let's talk about the Flash movie. Cinematographer Henry Bram actually worked on the Suicide Squad, but he's also working on the Flash as well. And Collider got an exclusive interview with him. And because the Flash is currently in production, he couldn't say much about the movie, but he did have a comment about superhero movies. The Flash is going great. I mean, it's a complex movie, and it's a fantastic concept of bringing in the generations of these kind of comic books. Again, it's not really a comic book movie. It's not based in reality, but it's a much more kind of technically complex. I think all the filmmakers are really keen that the technical complexity of the storytelling doesn't get in the way of just good quality filmmaking. Hopefully, I don't think it'll ever come across as a superhero movie. It will come across as a movie, and that's what it is. I think that's the way these things need to go. We need to be making great films that happen to have superheroes who have truthful characters behind them, with all the character flaws that we find in humanity. So some may take insult to this because it may be like he's trying to say that he's trying to not make a superhero movie because that degrades the quality of the movie, which I don't think is at all, because superhero movies are actually big blockbusters now, and people get it. People love comic book movies. But I think what he's really trying to say is that he's trying to make a good movie, focusing on the characters, focusing on the movie that happens to have superheroes around it, and having that part work with the superhero element, they could produce a really great movie. So with that effort, I think that does go to show that there is possibility that you could really care for these characters beyond it being just superheroes. You could relate to these characters. You could add a certain realism to this superhero world. Kind of like what Zack Snyder did in terms of making it grounded, but mythological and awesome at the same time. It's blending realism with the comic book genre, which kind of what the Suicide Squad kind of did. Even though there was this giant starro fish and a giant man-eating shark humanoid character, you could feel the humanity within it, and I think that would make a difference. A lot of those times, those things are due to the script and the director, not so much the cinematographer, but maybe he's talking about the production as a whole. So we'll see if all that works out when we get to watch the Flash movie. Alright, let's talk about this Ayer Cut business. Now, we still haven't yet to see David Ayer's true Suicide Squad. He has already said that the studio cut, the theatrical cut, was not his cut, and he even admitted that through test screenings, people never really actually saw his cut. They saw a mix of his and the studio cut. So last weekend, and I think every single day, Release the Ayer Cut has been trending a bit by bit, as fans are consistently calling out to release the Ayer Cut. It also made headlines as well when David Ayer put out that personal letter on Twitter. But something happened just recently, and that was David Ayer started following some accounts. Yes, including mine. And I noticed a lot of these accounts are kind of like the Snyder Cut accounts and the Ayer Cut accounts. Just recently, all in one fell swoop. And I'm wondering, what does this mean? Some people also took notice of what he's retweeted and tweeted recently. He retweeted Rob Liefeld's tweet. We getting that Ayer Cut yet? Hashtag release the Ayer Cut. He also retweeted this account. Internet killed the rock star. Dreams come true when you don't quit. And he also retweeted this account that said, your future self is going to thank you for not giving up. Now, it could just be inspirational tweets that he retweeted because that sounded great, and he could be retweeting Rob Liefeld because that is a big name in the comic book business, but, you know, my tinfoil part of me can't help but think there is something more to this. When David Ayer retweeted Internet Killed the Rockstar once again, except the tweet said, new song next week with, and he put the big emoji eyes. What's next week? And for the casual part of myself, I'm like, okay, there's a song coming out next week. He obviously loves whatever this person's music is. That's what he's looking forward to. Or is there more to it? He put eyes over this tweet from HBO Max. Have a good time with some bad guys. At James Gunn and the cast of the Suicide Squad are hosting a watch party Monday, August 30th. Stream on HBO Max and tweet along with TSS Watch Party. Like this tweet for an invite and reminder to join at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There is a watch party for the Suicide Squad. And for the casual part of me, I'm like, okay, this is just consistent with David Ayer supporting James Gunn with their Suicide Squad. But seeing how even the RT Ayer Cut seemingly very optimistic that we've kind of done it? I don't know. I'm starting to wonder, are we actually getting the Ayer Cut? Now, why would we be tweeting the watch party? Now, honestly, I would have thought that if any case, at the minimum, most minimum, with a 50% or less probability that an Ayer Cut could be announced at DC Fandom. I think that would be the perfect place to do it, and since it's coming up in October. But then I got to thinking, well, look at this watch party that's coming up. This reminds me of when Zack Snyder had a Man of Steel watch party and announced Zack Snyder's Justice League at that watch party. Now, obviously, this is not the same because David Ayer is not hosting the Suicide Squad watch party. This is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Then I'm thinking that David Ayer never had a DC movie before that, so there's not really another movie he could do a watch party and announce his cut of the Suicide Squad. And obviously, he's not going to have a watch party for the theatrical version of Suicide Squad. That's not his cut. But seeing how David Ayer and James Gunn are kind of really, social media buddies at this point, and they've talked before, could this be a way where HBO Max and James Gunn decided, hey, let's do a watch party for my Suicide Squad, and let's bring in the Ayer Cut fans and hype it up. Maybe people will come in and watch the Suicide Squad. James Gunn just kind of inviting David Ayer to come in and says, hey, why don't you announce your Suicide Squad during our watch party? Now, that's just me hoping and not actually knowing if that's going to actually happen, but it would seem like the same pattern that Zack Snyder did for the Man of Steel watch party. I know James Gunn has no say in whether to release the Ayer Cut or not, but maybe he talked to Warner Bros. And says, hey, can you do something, can you help my buddy out here? Let's just release his Ayer Cut out on HBO Max. It would do good for the Suicide Squad brand. Is it happening? I don't know. We don't have to wait that long, because Monday is right around the corner. Crossing my fingers that it is. That will be awesome. I think that will be great to close that chapter for David Ayer and finally get to see his vision for Suicide Squad. And who knows, maybe if it's really good and people are really receiving it well, David Ayer could make Gotham City Siren. I don't know. I guess we'll see. So let's see what happens Monday